In the village of Takht Hazara, there once lived a young man named Dido, of the clan of young, beautiful village man Ranjha. He was the youngest son of a wealthy landowner, and as the youngest, he was a trifle spoiled. Rather than working or managing the family property, he spent his days lazing in the sun and playing his flute. Unfortunately, his father eventually died, and the sons divided the land amongst themselves. The older brothers never thought much of the youngest, so when they divided the land, they gave young beautiful village man Ranjha the worst, most infertile part of the property. And Ranjha tried to work his land for a while, to no avail. Disgusted, he took his flute and left Takht Hazara. The going was hard because young beautiful village man Ranjha was used to the good life on his family's property, and now he had to beg for scraps to live, not always successfully. But he must have been a good person at heart, because heaven looked after him. One night, and Ranjha took shelter in a mosque. To pass the time, he played his flute. His playing attracted the villagers, who all came to listen to the beautiful music. It also attracted the attention of the mullah in charge of the mosque. The mullah tried to stop young, beautiful village man Ranjha from playing, scolding him for desecrating the mosque with his music. Young, beautiful village man Ranjha turned on him, saying that a little music was nothing compared to the hypocrisy of the so-called holy men. You and your kind, with your beards, try to pretend to be saints, but your actions are that of the devil. You run around after women in mosques. You are like curses clinging to the house of God. The mullah was furious, naturally, but there was nothing he could do. The villagers refused to back him up. Perhaps they secretly agreed with Ranjha. Finally, the mullah left, and Ranjha spent the night in the mosque, and then traveled on the next day. Eventually, Ranjha reached the banks of the river Chenab just as the sun began to set. He asked Ludan, the ferryman, to take him to the city of Jang on the other side, but Ludan refused, because it was getting dark, and he suspected Ranjha of being a thief or highwayman who planned to rob Ludan as they crossed the river. Thinking that he had no choice except to camp out on the side of the river, Ranjha sat down on the riverbank, pulled out his flute, and began to play a low, melancholy tune. The sound was so beautiful that everyone who heard it felt moved to pity, and between their intercessions on Ranjha's behalf and the lovely sound of the flute itself, Ludan's heart softened, and he agreed to take Ranjha across. After Ranjha boarded the ferry, he made himself comfortable on a luxurious red and white couch on the ferry. At first, Ludan tried to stop him. The couch belonged to young, beautiful village girl Heer, the daughter of Mir Chuchak, the head of the Sial clan. But Ranjha continued to play his flute, and Ludan, spellbound, let Ranjha sleep where he would. The next morning, Heer and her girlfriends arrived at the river, sweeping down on the ferry, as a hailstorm sweeps over a field. Noticing Ranjha asleep on her couch, Heer castigated Ludan loudly, then threatened to have Ranjha beaten for his insolence. But when Ranjha opened his beautiful eyes, Heer changed her tune. And Ranjha fell in love with Heer at first sight, too. She had a face like the full moon, eyes that sparkled like precious gems, teeth so white like the petals of the jasmine flower, lips like red rubies. They spent the rest of the day together. Ranjha told Heer his life story. By the end of the day, Heer swore to be Ranjha's forever. The next day, Heer brought Ranjha to her father, Mir Chuchak, saying, "Father, I have found someone to herd the buffaloes." Chuchak was skeptical. Ranjha, with his beautiful long oiled hair and smooth skin, looked more like a rich man's son, which he was, than like a herder or a laborer. But Chuchak loved his daughter and trusted her judgment. So he hired Ranjha. Every day, Heer brought Ranjha milk and bread or sweets and rice, and spent the whole day with him in the forest. She neglected her spinning and her household chores. She abandoned all her girlfriends. Soon gossip spread throughout the village. Who was this mysterious buffalo herder who insisted that only Meher Chuchak's daughter bring him food and who oiled his long hair every day with almost a quart of ghee? The gossip reached the ears of Kaidu, Heer's uncle,